Childhood best friend took her LFA after her boyfriend posted their Explict videos online without her consent. Her parents blamed me until they found out the truth. Rosie and I grew up together since kindergarten in a conservative area, and she has pretty conservative parents. Rosie was very introverted when I met her. It took weeks for her to talk to me in a normal volume. In contrast, I was a very loud and outspoken child, and over the years it rubbed off on her. Her parents are very nice people and have never said it to my face, but I know they thought/think I'm a bad influence on her. We were in the same school until we were around 14, when she moved away and we lost contact for a while. Neither of us had smartphones back then. We would email every month or so, but she had very limited computer time as well. When we were 18, we got into the same college and reconnected, although we don't see each other often because her studies are very demanding. We weren't as close as before, but we still talked a couple of times a month. I still considered her an important friend. 2 years ago, she got her first boyfriend, Darius, and it was obvious she had never been happier. I had never met him in person but have only heard good things from her. Her family knows about him and approves of their relationship. But around 2 months ago, she found out that he had been secretly filming their sexual activities and posting it on PRN sites. He did not censor her face, and he had amassed a not insignificant number of followers from these videos. She was mortified and heartbroken but did not want any of their mutual friends knowing, for fear that people Earl could potentially search and see those videos. Since their social circles are very intertwined, she had no one to confide in and I was one of the few people who knew. She stressed that her parents could not find out. They were under the assumption that both her and Darius were Christians and were saving themselves for marriage, and if they did, they would likely cut her off financially. Her mutual friends with Darius did not know what happened, just that she dumped him and it didn't work out. She was very depressed and suicidal afterwards, and having dealt with depression and suicidal thoughts myself, I took her out almost daily to check on her and so that she could have someone to vent to. Her other friends noticed she was down, but she attributed it to dealing with the breakup and the stress of impending exams. I don't know what the exams are supposed to be called in English, but it's something like the bar exam for lawyers. It's a big deal. The day she died, I went to pick her up from her dorm for dinner, but she didn't answer her phone or the door. She lives in a single room. I don't want to go into the details, but I was the one who found her. She didn't even leave a note. I had to call her parents and tell them about it. When they came, her mom started shouting that I was a bad influence, that I gave her depression, and implied that I drove her to kill herself. I heard through the grapevine that Darius told her parents they were only on a break and were working things out, and he has been comforting her parents and helping organize her funeral/memorial. I am disgusted. I want to tell her parents, but I don't want to tarnish Rosie's memory. I also don't think her parents will believe me. I am not invited to her funeral and I am wondering if I should go anyways. I want to see her one last time, but I'm afraid I might cause a scene if I go. I also haven't cried once since the incident. I think I may still be in shock. I am waiting for the grief to hit me, but it still hasn't yet. I feel like I'm supposed to be traumatized, but all I feel is numb. I don't know if this is the right sub for this, but I'm looking for advice on whether to go to the funeral, whether to approach her parents or confront Darius, and if so, how, and I guess just how to navigate this whole situation emotionally. Please let me know if this is the wrong sub to post in and I will post elsewhere. And I know Reddit is the first to suggest therapy. I'm on it. I can't afford individual therapy, but I'm on a wait list through my university's mental health program. I don't have an exact timeline for when I expect to be seen yet. Edit. I tried replying to all the comments but got a bit overwhelmed. Thank you all for the advice and hugs. I want to clarify a few things and share what I've decided so far. Thanks to all your help. Rosie deleted all the videos she could find when she found out, and we talked mostly in person. I have some texts from her saying how betrayed she felt and how exhausting it was keeping up appearances and pretending to be fine, but nothing concrete. I have decided not to go to the funeral. I want to respect her parents' wishes and it probably wouldn't end well anyways. I'm working on finding out who else Rosie told. She said she only told 2 other high school friends. I did some egg sleuthing and I believe I found one of them. I sent a message asking to talk about Rosie, but she hasn't responded yet. After the funeral, I want to tell Rosie's parents part of the truth so they can have some closure and kick Darius out of their lives. I want to punch his face in, seriously. I hope to enlist the help of Rosie's other friends who have more credibility with her parents. So far, I'm thinking of telling them that Darius filmed her in the shower without her consent and posted them. That way it's 90% the truth, and I wouldn't have to reveal that they had sex. I will leave the decision to pursue things legally up to them. I will still try to reply to comments, but I need a small break for now. Talking about this is pretty mentally draining. Thank you all again. Update, December 6, 2024. Hey, everyone. Just wanted to write down my thoughts and update anyone who was wondering about how things went after Rosie's funeral. Some info that is relevant to this update. Rosie and I grew up in religious families but both deconverted around high school. She wasn't religious for the duration of her relationship with Darius, but her parents believed she was still Christian. I know firsthand how damaging purity culture can be, and that was why Rosie did not want people, and her parents in particular, finding out about her having had sex, even if it seems normal for most college students. Also, I said in my last post I was very loud as a child. That was true. I was feisty and kinda obnoxious. But my personality did a 180 in high school when I got diagnosed with depression and anxiety. Now I am introverted and do not have many close friends. On to the update. I reached out to Rosie's high school friend Maggie, who I believe she also confided in about the Darius incident. Rosie had also told Sophie, another high school friend. The three of us swapped stories and ended up reaching out to Gwen, Rosie's best friend in college. Gwen was doing an exchange program overseas at the time of Rosie's death, and she had no idea all this had been going on. Rosie had been telling her everything was fine and that she broke up with Darius but didn't want to talk about it and that it was mutual. We decided to tell Rosie's parents an abridged version of the truth. We told them she was filmed in the shower, instead of during sex, because we felt that where we go from here is ultimately their decision and we shouldn't make it for them. Gwen is on good terms with her parents and met with them to tell them in person. Thankfully, they believed her right away. With Rosie's parents' blessing, Gwen blew up all of their group chats telling people what Darius had done. She also spread the abridged version. Within a couple hours, Darius's ex Nora, 21F, from about 3 years ago reached out to Gwen to say that she had also been filmed without consent and was too scared to say anything before. Nora made an official statement with our school and the school is investigating Darius. Nora and Rosie's parents have also went to the police. Nora had more solid evidence against Darius, so hopefully they will convict him. Unfortunately, this meant we had to come clean about what Darius had actually filmed. Rosie's parents weren't as mad as I feared and didn't hold our abridging the truth against us. There's no verdict as of now. The legal system works surprisingly slowly. And personally, I suspect Darius will get at most a slap on the wrist because his parents are well off and well connected. On the bright side, his social reputation is completely ruined. Most people trusted Gwen and Nora's statements and gave Darius hell. He took a leave of absence from the school and he will likely have to go to college overseas if he ever wants to graduate, because everyone in their major knows about it now. Some alumni from their field even caught wind and got involved. It's really very chaotic. I've asked Gwen not to involve me in any of this, besides giving the police any evidence I have and maybe being called to witness, of course, because my mental health has taken a huge hit from all of this and I don't have the energy to keep up with all the details. I have asked her to give me any significant updates though. Personally, I'm doing as well as one can after all this. Which is to say I'm struggling, but hanging in there, and depressed but not suicidal. Thank you for all your condolences in the last post. A few short personal updates from me. Rosie's parents, after Gwen told them, they reached out to me and asked to apologize in person. I didn't want to see them so we agreed to a phone call instead. They apologized profusely for lashing out at me. I forgave them. They didn't know what was going on. I was hurt but they had just lost their daughter and were understandably very emotional. I probably won't have much to do with her parents going forward. I didn't see them very much before, but I am glad to have resolved this misunderstanding. The funeral/memorial. Gwen was not able to sit down with Rosie's parents until after the funeral. She also had to miss it because she was still overseas at the time. We waited until she came back, so sadly I missed it. Rosie was cremated, and her parents gave us, Gwen, some of the ashes. Gwen took Maggie, Sophie, and I to her and Rosie's favorite spot on campus, and we set up a picnic there. We spread some of her ashes there, had a moment of silence, and started swapping stories about Rosie and her life. I had my first real cry after Rosie left, maybe 3 weeks after her death. It was very cathartic and hopefully the first step to healing. Therapy. I told my parents about everything and they helped me find a therapist with a shorter wait list than the ones in school. I did an intake session, and I can expect to be seen in as little as 2 weeks with a therapist that specializes in grief counseling. In the meantime, I went to some support groups with Maggie, Sophie, and Gwen. I personally don't think it worked for me, because every time I talk about it it's like reliving the whole experience for me, so I will stick to therapy. Sophie and Maggie are still going to sessions. What next? My semester is almost over so I'm trying to tough it out until then. I've told professors in my department about Rosie, they've heard about what happened, and they've been really kind and I've been given extensions on most of the work I missed. I'm not sure if I will be going back to school next semester or if I'm taking a break to recover mentally from all this. Maggie, Sophie, Gwen, and I have bonded over the shared trauma. Rosie had a pretty consistent taste in friends, lol. We will be keeping in touch and leaning on each other. That's about it from me. Thank you if you've read this far. Typing this out helped. Comments where Op has replied, Commenter 1. Oh gosh. Take care of yourself, you've certainly been through the ringer, I'm glad you go PT the apology and realization they were wrong. Now you need space and time to heal. Oop, thank you. My main goal was not to get an apology, but I appreciated the closure I got. No hard feelings towards them, I absolutely cannot imagine losing a child. Commenter 2. Sometimes a public shaming is more brutal than prison time. The internet is forever. As you said, he's dropped out of school and won't be able to get a job in his chosen career, and I suspect many people will make sure he can't find decent work elsewhere. People still bring up Brock Turner all the time and share his image. Hell, he was added to a law textbook, IIRC. I think he does have a job, but it's not a great one. I haven't seen anything recently about him. He goes by his middle name now? I'm sorry about the loss of your friend. I wonder if your country has revenge porn laws? Maybe you guys can work towards getting it out on the books if you don't? I'm sure there are plenty of people who are willing to help. Oop, I'm glad people are willing to believe Rosie and Nora. Sometimes people don't believe victims, especially with a person who is as good as faking being a kind person like Darius was. Yes, we do have revenge porn laws. Rosie's parents are handling it right now and I haven't been involved. Next story, Sil secretly put alcohol in my drink as a prank because I never drink. When I confronted her, she called me names and said my husband was doing charity taking in orphans. I, 29F, don't drink alcohol. The short answer to the reason for this is I grew with two highly abusive alcoholic parents. It took me a lot of self-work and therapy to even be able to be in the same room as people that are drinking. When I meet new people, I just politely turn down drinks by saying something along the lines of I don't drink. There has obviously been some instances where people ask me why, but I never go into the traumatic details. I've never had anyone push it onto me or anything. That's what makes what happened last weekend so bizarre. On the second Saturday of every month, my husband, 30M, and his sister, 32F, throw a cookout or something along the lines for all of their childhood friends. I've always thought it was really cool that they stayed close with so many people since I myself moved away from home and only stay in contact with one friend from school. I've been attending these hangouts ever since my husband and I started dating. There's never been any issues. I get along well with his friends and his sister. Last Saturday, my husband took my 11-year-old little brother out of town for a dad/son day. We're his legal guardians, I've had custody of him since I was 20. So I went to the cookout alone this time. I've done this a couple times before, it's always been fine. So, my Sil handed out the usual mimosas, I asked for just orange juice like always. When I took a sip of the drink she handed me, I immediately spit it out because I could taste champagne. I turned around to my Sil and said, "Oh, you must have given me your drink by mistake." When I turned, I noticed her and two of her friends laughing. I was so confused. I asked what was going on and my Sil said through her giggles, "We thought it would be funny to see how you react to alcohol since we've never seen you drink it before. You should have seen your face." I was honestly just so shocked by that my only response was what the hell? As they continued laughing, I just told them I was leaving. I honestly don't even remember that drive home because I was trying to keep myself from having a panic attack. When I finally got home, I just broke down crying. My husband and brother got home shortly after that and I couldn't hide how I was feeling even if I wanted to. My husband immediately asked me what was wrong and I just broke down again. I hate that my brother had to see me cry. I try to keep our house as happy and safe as possible. After I put on a movie for my brother, I explained what happened to my husband. He was so mad. I've never seen him like that before. He told me to go relax with my brother and he was gonna sort everything out. I could hear him yelling at his sister on the phone and after almost an hour, he came and sat with us and told me we wouldn't be seeing her again. The next day, we told my mother and father-in-law. I've always been really close with them so I wanted to confide in them, but I was obviously scared because that's their daughter and I didn't want to talk bad about her to them. To my surprise, they were absolutely mortified and so apologetic on behalf of their daughter. I'm so glad because my little brother adores them. It would have been devastating if our relationship with them suffered because of this. So, yeah. This past week has been so weird. I feel weirdly betrayed. I hate that my Sil and her friends used me as some sort of entertainment for the day. I know that they don't know the trauma this triggered inside of me, but I'm just so confused on why they thought that was an okay thing to do. I also feel guilty because I don't want my husband to stop going to the cookouts and lose his time with his friends and I don't want him and his sister to never see each other again because of me. My husband is amazing and has assured me it wouldn't be my fault if they never speak again. It's just hard not to feel that way. Don't worry though, I've had a lot of emergency therapy sessions this week and I know I'll be okay. It was just such a bizarre thing to experience. It seems like such a small, inconsequential thing to have happened to me. But it's been a crash course on trauma, triggers, PTSD, etc. Typing it out has been so helpful. Thanks for listening to my ramblings. Update, December 7, 2024. Hey, guys. Thank you to everyone that left me kind comments and messages on my previous post. I'll just get right into the update. A lot of you guessed right. This isn't the first time my Sil has done something like this. She is definitely what some would consider a mean girl. My husband and his parents have had multiple falling outs with her over the years, but they've been on good terms recently until she pranked me. So, yeah. I could see how my husband's immediate reaction to go no contact seemed like an overreaction, but he's dealt with a lot from her in the past. I don't want to give any specific examples because they're personal to my husband and his family. Hope you all understand. So here's what happened after my last post. After talking with my therapist and my husband, I decided I wanted to message my Sil. I asked her if she wanted to get lunch and talk about what happened. I wanted to explain some of my past to her, my PTSD diagnosis, and why what she did affected me so much. I just wanted this to be over and for us to come to an understanding. But she never responded. A couple of my husband's friends that were at the cookout when the prank happened called us to check in on me. They said they had no idea my Sil planned that and they never would have let it happen. That's probably why she didn't clue them in on the prank. They told me that after I left, they told her it wasn't cool. After a couple days I just gave up hope of her messaging me back and decided to start moving on. Yesterday, my Sil blew up my husband's phone. She said some pretty awful things. To summarize, it was along the lines of "It's not my fault your wife is a PC that is scared of champagne." She called me a bunch of names, from everything to be TCH, CNT, etc. She said she never liked me and she wished my husband stayed with his high school girlfriend. They broke up when they were 18 BTW, my husband is 30. Lol. The worst thing she said was, my husband was just doing charity by taking in a couple of orphans. If you don't remember, I have custody of my 11-year-old brother and we don't have any contact with our parents because they're abusive. So, yeah. Some pretty awful stuff. I was honestly just shocked. I thought we got along fine. We were never best friends or anything, but I had no idea she held this much animosity towards me. Maybe she's just embarrassed and lashing out because her parents or some of her friends berated her for it? I don't know. My husband sent just one message back to her saying he never wants to see or talk to her again and then blocked her and her husband's numbers. He told his parents what happened and they were furious too. I don't know what they said to her, but they're about as done as my husband. Since I've been in therapy and have support around me, her words didn't bother me much. I know she obviously has some problems to deal with and I'm just her latest target. The worst thing she did was bring my brother up. I'll never forgive her for that. He's not an orphan. He has two parents that love him. And I'm not either. I have in-laws that love and support me. They always have my back, even when it comes to their own daughter. If I never see my Sil again, I'd be fine with that. I truly hope one day she'll come to her senses and understand the way she treats people isn't right. We've decided to turn every second Saturday of the month into family day in place of the cookouts. I'm gonna be just fine. I'm already feeling miles better than I did writing my previous post. For everyone calling me dramatic, I'm genuinely glad you don't have experience with PTSD or triggers. I don't think it's funny to give someone alcohol without their consent even if you know the person drinks. Anyway, again, thank you for all the kind words. I hope there will be no more updates, but if anything crazy happens, I'll let you know.